This isn't just politics anymore. This is a battlefield forming in real time. Behind closed doors, parties are scrambling, reputations are already on the line, and the next election hasn't even started. Pauline Hanson just stepped into the spotlight and did what she always does: flipped the pressure back onto her critics. Claims of weak candidates and internal chaos were thrown at her party, and she didn't hesitate to hit back. In a live political exchange, she rejected the idea that one nation is struggling to find credible House candidates, insisting the vetting system has been rebuilt from the ground up. No hesitation, no apology, just full-force confidence. But then she went further, turning the fire directly onto her rivals, accusing major parties of having their own embarrassing selections and long histories they'd rather not revisit. And in that moment, the conversation stopped being about one nation's candidates and started becoming a warning shot to everyone else in Australian politics. Because Hanson isn't talking like someone preparing for an election, she's talking like someone preparing for a fight.
That to the next generations.
Totally agree with you, Chris. You know, as I said, I'm the older generation, and when I was growing up, and I'm a baby boomer, so we went without, we didn't have everything. You know, I had second-hand furniture, second-hand clothes. We never went to restaurants. We always cooked in the house to save the money. And then when we had that few extra dollars, then we, you know, bought investment properties. I owned some investment properties and I rented it out to try and get ahead in life. And that's the way I was brought up, watching my parents. And that was the aspiration. Then you actually get to own your own home through your savings and going without. What they've done is strip this away from the future generations. This was a budget.
What's your take on this heated exchange? Who made the strongest point? Drop your thoughts in the comments and join the conversation below.
Budget basically that says this is a Marxist, socialist, communist budget. We're going to strip wealth. We want to disperse wealth, you know, right across it. They're not going to inspire the younger generation to go in there. And most of this housing that's bought up is bought up by those, you know, paramedics, nurses, police, these people that actually invest because we want to be able to provide for ourselves in our future. Because you don't know what life's going to bring you. Can you depend on the government to give you an age pension? Can you depend on the government to give you decent aged care facilities to live in? No, I wouldn't trust them as far as I could throw them because we've got nothing left in the kitty anymore, Chris.
We're just about out of time. I want to give you sort of 30 seconds, if you can, to sum up this budget. What's your assessment, top line assessment of the budget and where it's headed?
Chris, they had, you know, an extra $42 billion in the budget, and yet we're going to blow out $31.5 billion. This means it's government spending. The RBA have said it's government spending. Mass migration is what's driving up housing prices. That needs to be addressed. You can't keep, they're robbing the people now to pay for the next budget next year to give all the handouts. People, wake up. You're paying for it. Our future generations are going to be paying for this in the future. It is a horrible budget.
Yeah, problems coming down the track even more for this country. Thanks for joining us, Pauline. Appreciate it. Pauline Hanson there.
The political spotlight has once again turned to One Nation leader Pauline Hanson after she addressed growing scrutiny over her party's candidate selection process ahead of the next federal election. During a live interview, Hanson pushed back strongly against predictions that her party could face difficulties in recruiting House of Representatives candidates, rejecting suggestions that inexperienced or controversial doozies could end up damaging One Nation's credibility. She insisted the party has significantly strengthened its vetting system in recent years, arguing that candidates are now properly screened before being publicly announced. According to Hanson, this process has already been tested in recent election cycles and is designed to prevent the kind of internal controversies that have affected political parties in the past. Hanson also emphasized confidence in the talent pool being assembled, stating that One Nation has attracted individuals who are motivated by what she describes as a desire to make a difference in Australian politics. She said the party will be unveiling its full candidate lineup in the coming months, signaling that preparations for the election campaign are already well underway. A key part of her response focused on rejecting the idea that One Nation should be underestimated electorally. Hanson argued that both her leadership and her party's base of candidates are stronger than critics often assume, suggesting that previous dismissals of the party have repeatedly been proven wrong at the ballot box. The discussion also turned political when Hanson launched a pointed critique of the Labour Party, highlighting what she described as embarrassing figures within rival ranks. She directly referenced senior political opponents, arguing that major parties have also faced their own internal controversies and questionable candidate selections over the years. The interviewer challenged Hanson on her political trajectory, noting that while she has experienced periods of decline and controversy in the past, she has nonetheless remained a persistent and influential figure in Australian politics. He described her as a political force that continues to attract both candidates and voters, particularly as polling data suggests sustained support for her party. Hanson appeared to embrace that characterization, reinforcing her message that One Nation is no longer a fringe movement, but a competitive political force capable of shaping national debate. She suggested that growing public engagement with her party reflects broader dissatisfaction with traditional political leadership. Political observers note that candidate vetting has become an increasingly important issue across Australian politics, particularly as smaller parties expand and attempt to compete nationally. Strong screening processes are often seen as essential to avoiding reputational damage during election campaigns. However, critics of Hanson's party argue that despite improved processes, smaller political organizations still face greater risk when rapidly expanding their candidate base. They claim that scrutiny of One Nation's selections will intensify as the election approaches. Supporters, on the other hand, view Hanson's comments as a sign of organizational maturity, arguing that the party has learned from past controversies and is now operating with greater discipline and structure. The broader political context highlights a competitive election environment in which candidate quality, party image, and public trust are likely to play a decisive role. With voter sentiment shifting and minor parties gaining traction in certain regions, both major and minor political forces are preparing for a highly contested campaign. Hanson's remarks ultimately reflect a recurring theme in her political messaging: resistance to political underestimation, and a focus on positioning One Nation as a disciplined, growing alternative within Australian politics. Whether that confidence translates into electoral success will become clearer as the candidate lineup is officially unveiled in the coming months.